The journal for modern osteopathy will be a major building block, in creating modern osteopathy. It's one of the places where we connect, where we can discuss, where we can do really rigorous debates. So the whole point of that journal is to allow us to present new ideas, new work, and be in a free and open space where we can really discuss things without political influence and without fear of any kind. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of hard work. So I'm very much looking forward to this. And there's 7 editors from all over the world, more from the periphery, where there's a lot of energy and excitement and a lot of knowledge and enthusiasm for osteopathy. So this is the contribution of the Journal of Modern Osteopathy that just got launched today. And of course, so there's knowledge and there's different ways to create knowledge. So we don't want to limit ourselves. It's a scientific journal, but we also want to be honest and actually acknowledge that there are very different ways of gaining knowledge, and we're not closing ourselves, but we're going to invite different kinds of knowledges and the way it's created into the journal. So in scientific terms, we call this epistemology. It's when we basically ask, how do we create knowledge? How it's not only like we are thinking, no, it's also asking, so how are we thinking? What's convincing to our minds? What is an argument? And so how does knowledge production work? So it's kind of stepping a little bit outside, and looking at the way we create knowledge. And of course, there's very ancient techniques there. One of the most obvious one is observation. So all the major scientists were creating labs where they could watch. Aristoteles was one of the first people who were watching different kinds of animals in real life, and not only in his imagination. So getting out into the world and watching things. Fish, he noticed the difference between a dolphin and a whale, and he called it a monster, because it's not a fish and it's not a fully a mammal. So just by observing, we learn a lot. By tradition. So there's very strong traditions in the West and the East, and that is given from one generation to the other, like an inheritance. It doesn't have to be genetic. It's just like the traditions that are building up different teachings, different people. The embodied knowledge is passed on, and so that's very important. And it doesn't matter then, are we talking about people like Francis Bacon down on the right, or are we talking about Vedas and ancient Chinese texts, Taoist texts, or Chinese medicine? This is all serious stuff. Things we take really seriously, because it's full of observations, it's full of ideas, full of theories. We're not taking it without checking it. But it's there, and it helps us. And another source for creating knowledge. And every child does it. We still do it as adults. It's playing, it's competition, it's playing around, doing things. When it's more organized, we call it an experiment, but it often starts with children, and later we do it in a more organized way. There's revelation, so this is more for the people who are in a religious tradition. But revelations can also be something that happens to you in the dream. A lot of more recent insights, for example, the way one of the molecules are built, the carbon molecule, it came in a moment of dreamlike state to the researcher. And also the way the DNA double helix was discovered. There's a lot of moments where they just had these visions. How could it look like? And so this is also part of it. Initiation, there's a lot of medicine and a lot of science that works with initiation, and also meditation can be a source of knowledge. And then, of course, that's where we are now. Also historically, there's the scientific method. So this is very important to us. And it's not the only one, but it's a very important one. And when you take it seriously, you also have to actually realize, and it's often lost, that there are standards. So if you say, okay, science is my main tool, it's my main building block, my main pillar, I want to stand on science. The journal has the £2 coins in the front on the homepage. Yeah, you can see the £2 coins in Britain, in England, in Britain. Yeah, it's a quote from Newton, one of our basic, very fundamental heroes in Western science in the last 500 years. Yeah, so Sir John Newton. So he said we're standing on the shoulder of giants. He's one of the new giants. We're standing on his shoulders, and he was standing on shoulders. So science has really very clear ideas about how to produce knowledge, and it's wonderful. Yeah, but let's follow them. Yeah, because there's a lot of confusion these days. Yeah? Because there's standards. There's high and low science. Yeah, high is when you actually find the laws of nature. Yeah? It's mainly done in physics and other things. Yeah? But if you find a law of nature, like quantum physics or gravitation, this is something. There's not a lot in osteopathy, but we're trying to at least try to understand the laws of biology, the laws of development, the laws of um, tissue mechanics. These are very important things, and they're often based on theories. Theories that are tested, falsified, verified. So the highest level is laws. The second highest is theory. And below, very important also, the scientific discourse, because if you have a hypothesis, that's the fourth one, then it has to go through a long discussion process. It's not just you have an hypothesis and that's it. No, you find one thing to prove it. No, you have to look for disproving it. This is one of the theorems of Karl Popper. You have to try to falsify it. If you have a hypothesis that doesn't allow falsification, it's not a scientific hypothesis. So you can build ideas, but as soon as it's a hypothesis, you have to create arguments and you have to define when you're willing to give up the hypothesis. And this is usually done in a scientific discourse, in a journal like ours, in smaller groups. We try to set up work groups. So this is and often these hypotheses are built on studies. So the ideal one, our gold standard is I use the short hand there. So it's prospective, it's randomized, it's controlled, it's double blind. This is the ideal study. There are not a lot of them nowadays, but that's what in evidence-based medicine we agreed upon. What are good studies? But listen, science is not studies, or studies is not science. It's not theory. Just there are many studies that lead to a hypothesis and then maybe support a theory after a long process of discourse. But is to do studies like what everyone does nowadays and then says this is science, this is not it. It's a study. It's important, but it's one little piece. And if you go even one step lower, you have data and you deal with data and statistics. It can be very important, but it's not. It's not a theory. It's not. It cannot replace discourse, and it's not a law of nature. And then, again, facts, phenomena, important, because we can observe them. It's very important. Remember what we said about the different ways of creating knowledge. Looking at facts, observing phenomena, very important. But it already is a process of agreeing, of judging, creating a jury. What is a fact? Like in a trial, the first place where in the West where they're trying to create facts was in judicial trials. You had 10 people, they had to agree on a fact. It's not always easy to actually say, oh, this is what happened, because you have different witnesses saying different things. So creating a fact is already a process. It's not just there. And the lowest one, often now today it's the one that's offered the most, which tells you a lot about the moment we are in the history of science. It's modulation and simulations. Just think about the big important things in the last 10, 20 years, like the climate change discussion, all the stuff we got during the politics of the pandemic. These were basically modulation and simulations. And it's often fantasy. So you have modulations that are based maybe 5% in real facts, and the rest is assumptions and ideas, and it's based on very complex mathematics, and a lot of people are not really into it. Yeah. So if you're arguing with models and simulations, first of all, you need to be very honest and tell us. So what are the facts and what are your assumptions? And you have to be very clear about explaining the mathematical model behind it, yeah, because that changes a lot the outcome. So it's a wonderful system, yeah, from the laws of nature down all the way to modulations, and in the end you need a lot of math to go through the whole process. But there's a clear hierarchy in terms of creating knowledge. So the person you saw before is one of the heroes of evidence-based medicine, John Ioannidis. He is a professor at Stanford, professor for epidemiology, and he wrote two important papers. That's why he got famous or infamous for other people. So the first one published in 2005, why most published research findings. He talks about biomedicine, the biofield, not physics, why they're false, and then 10 years later, why they're not useful. And these are the most published texts in biomedicine. So for good reasons, he's really a wonderful, smart guy, Greek American. He knows what he's talking about, and this is also why he got attacked in the politics of the pandemic. So yeah, with all what we know, yeah, and all what we want to develop in the future, or we want to develop experience. Yeah, we want to be in a discourse. Yeah, we want to look for the truth, search for the truth. Yeah. So this is our temple we want to build, yeah, the temple of modern osteopathy. And yeah, so the journal is one part, the Academy of Science is another part. You all guys, yeah, who are interested in joining us, yeah, supporting us with articles, supporting us with comments, you're all welcome to join this endeavor, this enterprise to create modern osteopathy.